Hello my friends and welcome. Let's go for the frontline update on Ukraine and the main question whether the counteroffensive of Ukraine has already been started or not. As for the deep state map resource, they do not update the map on purpose for 2 of the days because Ukrainian military command asked everyone to be silent about the counteroffensive action, but at the same time the Ukrainian military officials confirmed that our army moved forward in some of the points of the front lines. So recently, let's go to the situation on the south. Neskuchne and Novodarivka were under attack yesterday, and attacks from the Ukrainian side continue today with more reinforcements. Russia starts to resist aggressively. They even put more artillery systems on their side to target the offensive forces from the Ukrainian side. As for Ukraine, there was the information that we've took Novodarivka and also Neskuchne villages. It is not a great progress, and based on the units that Ukrainian side uses in this area, I would say that 100% it's not the full-scale counteroffensive. We use not more than a single battalion in that area. Yes, they have tanks, yes, they have armored vehicles, but at the same time, those forces are not enough to break through the Russian defense lines. At the same time, we have the information about explosions in Mariupol, Berdyansk, and also in Melitopol. Those are the big supply hubs for the Russian Federation, and I think it is done before the major counteroffensive. Also, there is the fighting behind the front lines. The Ukrainian army uses the artillery systems. Let me show you this place on the map. So again, Novodarivka and Neskuchne, we have a question whether Ukraine took those villages under control because there was no update of this military map and there is no other confirmation of that information. But I'll partially show you the video from the Staromayorsk where Ukrainian forces attacked the Russian infantry vehicle. As you can see, Russia stored the BTR over there and Ukraine performed the artillery attack on it and Russia completely lost it. Logically, it's the second stage of the counteroffensive, just the big question whether this counteroffensive is the main one that we are all waiting for. By the way, the expectations of it are tremendously huge and Russians also scared about it because there is the informational tsunami that moves towards the Russians because they are already scared in their positions, especially on the south. And the Russian side started to publish the videos where you can spot some of the Ukrainian, as they say, vehicles. I would agree with that because according to the silhouette, those are the American tracks out there and they got under the Russian fire in an attempt to move forward, but still their forces are not enough to break through the Russian defense lines. We need heavy tanks, we need artillery and also anti-aircraft systems. From the Russian resources, we also see that the fighting is ongoing near to Novodonetsk. There is the natural obstacle, the river over here, which is now the front line. So after watching many of the videos and other resources, I may say that it's not the main counteroffensive of the Ukrainian side. According to the book, it shouldn't be done like that. The counteroffensive should be very fast. If it is not fast, Russia will just send more reinforcement and this will be the catastrophic action from the Ukrainian side. That is why I believe that the fight with a small group of the soldiers on the south right now is mainly made to deflect the attention, and probably we're gonna strike on the other direction, also on the south but a little bit further away from the place. Or the other scenario, Ukraine tries to find the weak spot in the Russian defense, but in that scenario Ukraine uses quite a lot of the armored vehicles and resources, so I would bet on the first scenario. So for now, the forces that Ukraine possess in this area are small for the big counterattack and also large for the surveillance operations. Alright, from the south, let's go to the Bakhmut area where we have the good news for Ukrainian army. The part of Berhivka, according to the information which is coming from Prigozhin, is partially under Ukrainian control. Let's switch on the topographic chart. It will be more understandable. So I hope that our forces got this elevation under the control. If it is so, we're gonna control all of this territory around. Plus, we're gonna see what is happening in the Bakhmut city without using any kind of the drones, and also we may fire towards the Russian positions more precisely from the higher level. Prigozhin now is just in desperate because his forces left Berhivka, and just a couple of days ago Russian forces went there but stayed there for a few days, probably maximum 2 days. And finally decided to follow the Wagner steps, leaving this area. Again, we don't have the map update, but this information is based on Prigozhin as the resource and also Ukrainian officials who claimed that Ukrainian army moved forward by 1.6 kilometers in the Bakhmut region. It means that probably we took part of Berhivka and also moved to the southwest part of the Bakhmut city. So Russia celebrated that they've took the Bakhmut city, but now Ukrainian army is again in that city. Oh, sorry, I put Ukrainian army in red color over here. Well, anyways, there is now the great risk for the Russian army forces to be encircled in the city, and what they will perform is the usual goodwill gesture. It's the only way for them. Without the Wagner forces, little by little, they will give up their positions. Alright, now let's go to the Belgorod area, the Russian territory. You can see the military map update with some gray area, and we know right now that Novaya Tavalzhanka village was captured by the Russian Legion of Freedom. It was confirmed by every official source, by the Russian volunteers themselves, by the governor of the Belgorod region, by Ukrainian officials, and also there were lots of the footages. This is the Russian resource, and they compared the satellite image with the real photos that the Legion took from the place. So they confirmed that the Russian volunteers captured that village. And also Belgorod governor said that some of the locals are blocked now in the village and Russian army cannot move in. But we also know that the Russian volunteer army is near to Shebekina. Russians were able to evacuate, mostly Russians did it themselves, and now Russia started to demolish their own town because they think that the Russian Legion of Freedom and Russian volunteers went to the place. So their logic again is to leave the area and start to bomb it from the long distance. That's why if you see some videos with lots of the devastations in the private sector, in the town itself, with residential buildings, it is not necessarily the Ukrainian or the Russian Freedom Legion job. It could be the Russian Federation itself. As for Shebekina area, we also have the river over here that goes through Novaya Tavalzhanka, Shebekina itself, and goes further away. So I do expect that Russian volunteers may capture all of this area. This area over here is kind of flat and you can move around faster, but not far away from the area you can see some of the elevation spots, which is also good for defense. This time the Russian volunteers are already there for 3 days. And this time it's the record breaking, and with each advancement they will spend more and more times inside Russia. Who knows, maybe after they reach Shebekina they may announce the referendum for the Belgorod Oblast, turning it into the Belgorod People's Republic. That is what Putin actually did in Ukraine. He wasn't able to get control all over the Zaporizhia, Kherson, Luhansk and Donetsk Oblast, but announced the referendum. And after it officially put those territories into the Russian constitution. So now, according to the Russian law, Zaporizhia Oblast, Kherson, that they've lost last year, is officially Russia. I think that it is the first time in the history that one of the countries put the new territories while running away from those territories. It's the total Turkish, but we may use it against Russia itself. As for the Belgorod city itself, there will be probably evacuation announced very soon. So in general, speaking about the current situation, it's not yet the main counteroffensive. However, we see the new activity that may lead to the full offensive from Ukrainian side very soon. Now we see many of the separate puzzles, but in the future you'll see the very nice picture. Cutting supplies, deflecting the Russian military forces, getting new military equipment, lowering the morale of our enemy. Those are the steps for the successful future counteroffensive, which is overestimated, I think, from the people around the world. But I'm sure that it should be very fast and break Russian defense lines, otherwise it will bog down. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry says shh in the Twitter, be silent about the future actions. Actually, I know some of the extra information that I would like to share on my YouTube channel. The information is coming from our soldiers on the front lines, but no worries here, I just shared the information which is public. One more successful operation of the Russian Legion and Russian volunteers in Belgorod Oblast. They were able to eliminate the Russian colonel who was responsible for the defense in that area. So what Russian Legion did, they just blown up the vehicle where this guy was with the help of the drone. I cannot share those photos on this YouTube channel. For that, please subscribe for my Telegram channel. You may find it just in the video description below. I use it as my alternate resource if something goes wrong with my YouTube channel. So you may always find me on Telegram. There you may also comment. There are many emojis, and basically I upload more information over there. So again, I highly recommend you to subscribe for me in Telegram. One of the Russian soldiers in Belgorod region recorded the video that they were left alone without weaponry, without reinforcements. And there are mainly young men who went through the mandatory service in the Russian army. So not the professional Russian army. That's why the resistance from the Russia is very weak. Speaking about the forces that the Russian Legion of Freedom and Russian volunteers use over there, it's not more than 100 people, not more than 100 soldiers. They have the backup probably from the Ukrainian side since the artillery was used, but mainly those soldiers do not have the heavy armor vehicles or heavy tanks. Mark Milley said that the Ukrainian army is ready for the future counteroffensive, but he also stated that it's early to say about the result of it. Alright, there should be no news without this phase. Prigozhin officially confirmed that Wagner's left the Bakhmut city. They even took away Bieber and Dolik, their best soldiers who should have protected the Bakhmut city against Ukrainian attacks, and that's why probably Ukraine got success there. So Wagner is now in Russia in special military camps, and what will be the next action of Prigozhin? To move his forces to Belgorod or maybe to Moscow? Who knows? This video was published this evening. Ukraine started to use lots of the artillery systems. I wonder at what part of the front lines is it. My friends, even though Russia stated that Ukraine started the counteroffensive and Russia successfully resisted against it, no, just wait for some time and Ukraine will go forward and Russians will run. I do believe in the armed forces of Ukraine, and I'm sure that with all of that training that our soldiers got and with all of the weaponry that our army obtained, the counteroffensive will be 100% successful. Unfortunately, there will be more casualties than usual, especially from the offensive side, from Ukraine in that case. So be prepared for not pleasant videos or pictures with destroyed vehicles, and unfortunately lots of the lives will be lost over there. It would be much easier for Putin to withdraw the forces from Ukraine, but he will not do so. That's why we have to move forward and we have to pay the huge price. My friends, don't forget to press the like to this video, and also if you want to support my job, there are some links in the video description just below. You may support me on PayPal, Patreon, or just on the sponsorship of this YouTube channel. My friends, thank you so much for your awesome help and your awesome support. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and Have a great time.